Welcome to Deep Drama Stories, where every story reveals hidden emotions, life-changing moments, and the drama that shapes who we become.
What do you do when you know your daughter's husband is dangerous, but she doesn't believe you? I started writing. Every red flag, every bruise, every threat. 18 months of documentation in a single leather journal. 400 entries that proved Derek Cole wasn't just controlling my daughter. He was planning to kill me. The question was, would I get those pages to the police before he got to me? But before we continue, there's a sad truth. 97% of people watching this video are not subscribed. Not because they don't like it, but because they're too lazy to spend 2 seconds. If you don't want to be part of that 97%, prove it right now. Hit like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. The remaining 3% are always the ones who go the furthest, and I bet you're one of them. Now let me take you back to where this nightmare began, the night I first shook Derek Cole's hand and felt death. They say you know a killer when you meet one. I knew the moment Derek Cole shook my hand at Emily's rehearsal dinner, but knowing isn't proof, so I started documenting. 18 months, 400 journal entries, every manipulation, every bruise, every threat. When my best friend Dan caught Derek on video buying rope and plastic sheeting, I finally had what I needed. The question was, would I get to the police before Derek got to me? Let me back up. My name is Robert Mitchell. Rob. 62 years old, living in a Lincoln Park brownstone I've called home for 35 years. Chicago, born and raised. I know every street in this neighborhood, every shortcut, every coffee shop that opens before dawn. Mrs. Kowalski, 2 doors down, still brings me cookies every Sunday. This is the kind of place where people look out for each other. I raised my daughter Emily here after my wife Maggie died. 12 years ago. Cancer, the slow kind that gives you time to say goodbye but steals everything anyway. Emily was 17 when we lost her, just a kid. But we made it work, the two of us. And she grew up strong, smart, independent. By 29, she had her own place in Streeterville, a marketing job she loved, friends she'd known since college. She was happy. She was safe. Then Derek Cole walked into her life. April, 18 months ago. Emily called. Dad, I'm bringing someone to Sunday dinner. His name is Derek. I think you're really going to like him. I heard something in her voice I hadn't heard in years. Hope, joy, the sound of someone falling in love. So I said yes. Of course I said yes. The rehearsal dinner was at a restaurant overlooking Lake Michigan. Spring evening, that sharp wind coming off the water. Emily looked radiant in a blue dress that matched her mother's eyes. And Derek looked like he'd stepped out of a catalog. Expensive suit, perfect haircut. When he smiled, you wanted to trust him. Mr. Mitchell. His handshake was firm, practiced. Emily's told me everything about you. What you've built here in Chicago, it's impressive. Call me Rob. Rob. He flashed those white teeth. Lincoln Park, right? You've been in that brownstone for what? 30 years? 35. That's incredible. Real estate in this neighborhood, the value must be astronomical. You're sitting on a gold mine. First red flag. Not the compliment. The calculation behind it. The way his eyes appraised me like I was a property listing. I watched him through dinner. The way his hand rested on Emily's arm. Not affectionate, possessive. The way he steered every conversation back to money, security, assets. At one point, he asked about Maggie. I'm sorry about your wife, Derek said, cutting his steak with surgical precision. That must have been hard. Did she have life insurance? Emily blinked. Derek, that's kind of... It's fine, I said, watching his face. She did. Smart planning. Derek nodded approvingly. Most people don't think ahead like that. Financial security, that's everything. He squeezed Emily's hand. Your dad's a sharp guy, babe. Financial security is everything. While looking at my daughter like she was an investment portfolio. I drove home that night with my gut screaming. But gut instinct isn't evidence. If I told Emily I didn't trust him, she'd defend him. She'd choose him. I'd lose her. So I made a different choice. 2 a.m, I drove to the 24-hour Walgreens on Clark Street, bought a brown leather journal, 400 blank pages, drove home, sat at my desk, page 1. Date, April 15th. Time, 2:37 a.m. Entry 1. Emily introduced us to Derek Cole today. Something about him isn't right. The questions about money, about Maggie's insurance, about the house. It felt predatory. I could be wrong. God, I hope I'm wrong. But if I'm not, I'm documenting everything. Because knowing isn't proof. And if Derek Cole is what I think he is, I'm going to need proof. I closed the journal. My hands were shaking. I didn't know it then, but those 400 pages would become a weapon. The only weapon I'd have when Derek came for me with murder in his eyes. 6 weeks later, I walked Emily down the aisle at St. Michael's Church, and every step felt like a mistake. The journal had grown in those weeks. Page 1 became 20. 20 became 40. Each entry another red flag I couldn't ignore. Entry 7. Derek called tonight, asked about my estate planning. He's known Emily for 10 weeks. Entry 15. Dinner at his condo. He gave me a tour like a realtor showing property. Asked why I don't downsize. That brownstone is too big for one person, Rob. You could live anywhere. Entry 23. Emily says Derek wants to see Maggie's will. Just curious about family history, she said. He's curious about inheritance. But on Emily's wedding day, I locked the journal in my desk. I put on my suit. I smiled for the photographer. And I gave my daughter to a man I was already documenting like evidence. The ceremony was beautiful. Emily wore Maggie's pearls. When she turned to look at me before taking Derek's hand, her eyes shone with so much joy, I almost believed I was wrong. Almost. Derek delivered his vows like a performance. Smooth, rehearsed, no nervous stumbling, no emotion catching in his throat. Just polished words and a kiss he controlled, his hand on her back, directing how long it lasted when it ended. At the reception, I watched the small moments everyone else missed. Emily laughed too loud at something her friend Sarah said. Derek's hand appeared on her arm. Just a touch. But Emily stopped mid-laugh. She glanced at him, checking. Her smile became smaller, careful. Later, while Emily danced with her college roommate, I saw Derek by the bar with her phone, scrolling through her messages. When she came back breathless and happy, he handed it to her. "Thanks for keeping it safe, babe," she said. Safe. She called surveillance safe. During our father-daughter dance, Emily whispered in my ear, "I'm so happy, Dad. Derek is everything. Are you sure?" The words came out before I could stop them. She pulled back, surprised. "Dad. Don't do the protective father thing. He's perfect. Nobody's perfect. He is for me." She rested her head on my shoulder. "I know you worry, but I'm building something real. Finally." I held her and said nothing. What could I say? That her perfect husband was already monitoring her phone? That he'd asked about my will before asking about my favorite memory of her mother? I said nothing, and hated myself for it. 2 weeks. They honeymooned in Cabo while I filled more pages. I reviewed every text Derek had sent me, every conversation where he'd circled back to money. I called my lawyer. Richard, walk me through my estate planning. Rob, everything's set. The trust Maggie established, the life insurance payable to the trust, the prenuptial agreement Emily signed. Wait. What prenup? Silence. You didn't know? Maggie's instructions were explicit. Any marriage requires a prenuptial agreement protecting family assets. Emily came to my office 2 weeks before the wedding. She understood everything. She signed. I sat with that. Maggie had known. 12 years dead, and she'd still protected our daughter from exactly this. She'd built a fortress Derek couldn't breach, but Derek didn't know. He was operating blind. And when he discovered the truth, he wouldn't just walk away. When Emily returned from Mexico, I barely recognized her. She'd lost weight, 10 pounds, maybe more. There were shadows under her eyes. When I hugged her at my door, she felt fragile. How was the trip? Perfect, but her smile was tight. Derek's waiting in the car. We're grocery shopping together. You can come in for coffee. Can't. We're on a budget now. Derek's really focused on saving for a house. Every dollar counts. She kissed my cheek. I'll call you later. I watched her walk to the black Audi idling at the curb. Watched Derek lean over to open her door from inside. Watched him say something that made her face fall. Watched her apologize. For what, I couldn't hear. But I watched my daughter apologize to her husband of 2 weeks. That night, journal entry 43. Emily came home different, thinner, careful. Derek controls her money now, calls it budgeting. She apologized to him for something I couldn't hear. The isolation is starting, and I'm watching it happen in real time. By month 3, I had 70 pages. Nothing I could show Emily that would make her believe me. But the pattern was forming, and patterns always reveal themselves. The question was whether Emily would survive long enough to see it. By month 6, Emily's friends had disappeared. Not literally, they were still alive, still living in Chicago. But they'd stopped calling, stopped texting. And when I asked Emily about Sarah, about Jen, about the women she'd known since Northwestern, she had explanations. Sarah's going through something, Emily said on the phone. Her voice sounded distant, tired. She said some weird things about Derek. I think she's jealous that I'm married. What kind of weird things? She thinks he's too controlling. But she doesn't understand our relationship. Derek just cares about me. He wants to make sure I'm safe. Entry 57. Emily's friends are gone. Derek has convinced her they're jealous, toxic, bad influences. She believes him. The isolation was surgical, precise. Derek didn't forbid Emily from seeing people. He just made it uncomfortable, made her feel guilty, made her choose, and she kept choosing him. Then Derek came for Dan. Dan Pierce had been my best friend for 33 years. We'd raised our kids together, his son and my Emily playing in sprinklers every summer. When Maggie got sick, Dan was the one who sat with me in hospital waiting rooms. He was family. Emily had known Dan her entire life, called him Uncle Dan, trusted him completely, which made him dangerous to Derek. It was a Sunday in October. Emily and Derek came for dinner, rare now. Derek had been too busy the previous 3 weeks, but that night they showed up. Derek wore his charming mask, smiled, complimented my cooking. After dinner, Emily pulled me aside in the kitchen. Dad, I need to ask you something. About Dan, something in her voice made my stomach drop. What about him, Derek thinks? She looked uncomfortable. He thinks Dan has feelings for me, like romantic feelings. I stared at her. What? Derek noticed the way Dan looks at me, the way he always asks about me when you two talk. And apparently Dan told Derek that he thinks our marriage is moving too fast, that I should slow down. She twisted her wedding ring. Derek thinks Dan is trying to break us up because he's jealous. Emily, that's not... Is it true, Dad? Has Dan ever said anything to you about having feelings for me? No. I kept my voice steady. Dan loves you like a daughter, that's all. He's worried because... Because what? Because your husband is isolating you. Because I'm documenting abuse. Because Dan sees what I see. Because he cares about you, I finished. We both do. Emily's face closed off. Derek said you'd defend him, that you wouldn't believe him over Dan. She grabbed her purse. We should go. Emily, wait. But she was already walking to the living room. Derek, we need to leave. I'm not feeling well. Derek appeared, all concern. Of course, babe. He put his arm around her shoulders, protective, possessive. He looked at me with something like triumph in his eyes. They left. Entry 62. Derek has poisoned Emily against Dan. Told her Dan is in love with her, trying to sabotage their marriage. Emily believes it. Dan, the man who held her at her mother's funeral, is now a threat in her mind. The isolation is complete. I called Dan that night. She thinks you're in love with her, I said. Silence. Then, Jesus, Rob. Derek told her that? He's cutting her off from everyone. You were the last person besides me she still trusted. What do we do? I don't know. If you reach out now, you'll prove his point. But if you don't... I rubbed my eyes. She's alone with him. Not alone. She has you. For how long? He's working on that too. Over the next month, Sunday dinners stopped. Emily's excuses became routine. Derek planned something special. We're working on our budget. We have couples therapy. Always something that sounded reasonable. Always with Derek's fingerprints on it. Mrs. Kowalski noticed. She doesn't smile anymore, Helen said one afternoon, catching me on my front steps. She'd lived on this block for 40 years. Nothing escaped her. You're Emily. She came by last week, had bruises on her arms, said she'd bumped into something. My blood went cold. Bruises, yellow-brown, old ones. She was wearing long sleeves, but I saw when she reached for her car keys. Helen's eyes were sharp, knowing. My Henry, before he died, he used to work with domestic violence cases, police chaplain. He taught me things. How to see the signs. Helen, I'm not asking you to tell me what's going on. I'm telling you I see it. And if you need someone who's paying attention, someone who can testify to what they've seen, I'm here. Entry 89. Mrs. Kowalski has seen bruises. Yellow-brown, she said. Old ones. Emily is being hurt. And I'm still just watching. Still just writing. Still just waiting for enough evidence to act. How much is enough? How much does she have to suffer before I have proof no one can deny? By month 8, I had over 100 pages. Emily had no friends left, no support system. Dan was persona non grata. Sunday dinners were history. Derek had cut every thread connecting her to the outside world, and now, according to Helen, he'd started hitting her. The pattern was escalating. Right on schedule. A month had passed since Mrs. Kowalski warned me about the bruises. A month of waiting, dreading the moment I'd see with my own eyes what she'd witnessed. Emily showed up unannounced on a Tuesday afternoon in November. I was in the study when the doorbell rang. 3 months since she'd been to the house. When I opened the door, my heart lurched. She looked thin, exhausted. like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. "Hey, Dad." Her smile was fragile. "I was in the neighborhood. Thought I'd stop by. Come in. I'll make coffee." She followed me to the kitchen. The afternoon light through the window was harsh, unforgiving. When she reached for the sugar bowl, her sleeve pulled back, and I saw it. The bruise wrapped around her left forearm like a handprint, purple in the center, yellow-green around the edges, 4 fingers and a thumb, clear as a photograph. My hands froze on the coffee pot. Emily saw me looking. She pulled her sleeve down fast. "I'm so clumsy lately. Walked right into the bathroom door last week." "The bathroom door?" "Yeah." It was stupid. I wasn't paying attention. She stirred her coffee, not meeting my eyes. "Derek laughed at me, said I need to look where I'm going. A bathroom door doesn't leave finger-shaped bruises." "Emily." I kept my voice steady. "Can I see?" "Dad, it's nothing. Please." She hesitated, then slowly, reluctantly pushed up her sleeve. The bruise was worse up close, deep purple at the center where fingers had dug in. The yellowing edges meant it was at least 5 days old, maybe a week. Someone had grabbed her arm, hard, held on while she tried to pull away. "Does it hurt?" My voice sounded strange, distant. "Not really. It looks worse than it is." She pulled her sleeve back down. "I bruise easy. You know that." I didn't know that. Emily had never bruised easily in her life. How did Derek react when he saw it? Something flickered across her face. He felt terrible. She stopped, caught herself. He felt bad that I hurt myself. He got me ice. He felt terrible, past tense. Not when he saw it, when he did it. My hands were shaking. I turned away, pretending to get milk from the fridge so she wouldn't see. Cold sweat broke out on the back of my neck. 20 years I'd lived without hitting anyone. But in that moment, I wanted to drive to Derek's office and put my hands on him the way he'd put his hands on my daughter. "Dad, you okay?" I steadied myself, turned back with the milk. "I'm fine, just worried about you. Don't be. I'm good, really." She checked her phone, tensed. "I should go. Derek's expecting me home by 4. Stay for dinner." "Can't. We have plans." She was already moving toward the door. "Love you, Dad." "Emily, wait." I followed her. "If you ever need anything at all, you can always come home." She looked at me for a long moment. Something passed behind her eyes. Recognition, maybe, or fear. Then it was gone. "I know," she said. "But I'm fine, really." She left. I stood in the doorway watching her drive away. Then I went to the bathroom and threw up. When my hands stopped shaking enough to hold a pen, I opened the journal. Entry 127. Date. Time. Emily came by today. Purple and yellow bruise on her left forearm. Finger-shaped, 4 fingers and a thumb. At least 5 days old, maybe more. She said she walked into a bathroom door. She's lying. Someone grabbed her. Held on hard enough to leave that mark. She said Derek felt terrible. Past tense. Not when he saw it. When he did it. Then she caught herself. Changed the story. She's covering for him. Protecting him. I photographed the bruise when she used the bathroom. It's on my phone now. Evidence. But evidence of what? That he's hurting her? I already know that. Evidence that will make her leave him? She won't leave. Not yet. She's too deep in. The isolation worked. She has no one but him now. And me. And she's already pulling away from me too. I'm watching my daughter be abused in real time. And I'm documenting it like some kind of researcher. Like this is data instead of my child being hurt. How much more does she have to suffer before I have enough proof? How much is enough? I set down the pen. My hands were shaking again. Helen Kowalski was right. The bruises were there. Old ones. Multiple ones, probably, hidden under long sleeves. Derek had escalated from psychological torture to physical violence, and I knew from every domestic violence case I'd ever read about, every story on the news, every statistic, it only gets worse from here. The pattern was unfolding exactly as predicted. The question wasn't if Derek would kill someone. The question was who would die first, Emily or me. Dan called me on a Tuesday morning in December, his voice tight and urgent. "Rob, we need to talk. In person, now." I was at my desk in the Lincoln Park brownstone, reviewing journal entry number 183, Emily's third canceled Sunday dinner in a row. The pattern was unmistakable. My coffee sat untouched, going cold. What happened? Not over the phone. "Meet me at the diner on Clark Street. 30 minutes. He hung up before I could argue. 28 minutes later, I slid into the booth across from Dan at Lou's Diner. His face was pale, his jaw set. He pushed his phone across the table without a word. "Listen to this." Headphones. I plugged in the earbuds. "Hit play." Derek's voice came through, casual and confident, like he was discussing a stock investment. "The old man's policy is $2 million. Beneficiary is Emily, which means it's community property the second he's gone. We just need to wait for the right moment. Heart attack's believable. He's 62, stressed out, probably has high blood pressure. Or a fall down those steep stairs at that brownstone. Old houses, old wood, accidents happen. Laughter in the background. Another man's voice. You've really thought this through. Derek again. Of course I have. It's $2 million. And once he's gone, there's no one left to watch over her. No one to interfere. I pulled the earbuds out. My hands were shaking. Where did you get this? Murphy's Bar. Last night, downtown, near the financial district. Dan leaned forward, his voice low. I was meeting a client. Derek was in the back corner booth, didn't see me. He was on speakerphone, loud and careless. I recorded the whole thing, 3 minutes and 40 seconds. I stared at the phone. All those months, 18 of them now. I'd been documenting Derek's abuse of Emily, the isolation, the bruises, the financial control. I knew he was dangerous. I knew he was escalating. But I hadn't realized I was the target too. Of course. It all made perfect, terrifying sense. Derek couldn't access the family trust. My late wife Maggie had set it up specifically to protect Emily's inheritance. The prenup locked him out. But my life insurance? That was different. Community property laws meant that if I died, Emily would receive $2 million, and Derek, as her husband, would have full legal access to it. He wasn't just abusing my daughter. He was planning to kill me. And without me there to protect her, to document, to intervene, he'd have Emily completely and utterly under his control. Isolated, vulnerable, alone. "Send me that file," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Already in your email. Sent it before I even called you." I pulled out my laptop, opened my inbox. The file was there. Derek_Murphy's Bar _December 14th _evidence.mp3. I saved it to 3 separate locations. Cloud, hard drive, USB stick in my desk drawer. Then I opened my journal. Entry number 197. Date, December 14th, time, 11:22 a.m. Location, Lou's Diner, Clark Street. Dan Pierce obtained audio recording of Derek Cole at Murphy's Bar discussing my life insurance policy, $2 million. Derek explicitly stated, Once the old man's gone, that's community property and discussed methods. Heart attack, believable at age 62. Fall downstairs at Brownstone. This is no longer about abuse alone. This is premeditated murder. Derek views me as an obstacle and a financial opportunity. If I die, Emily receives $2 million as beneficiary, which becomes community property. Derek gains full access. Worse, without me alive, Emily has no protection, no documentation, no witness. Audio evidence secured in 3 locations. Next steps: continue surveillance, document escalation, prepare for confrontation. I closed the journal and looked at Dan. His eyes were hard, frightened. What do we do, Rob? Do we go to the police now? I thought about Detective Sarah Chen. I thought about Emily, who still believed Derek loved her. I thought about a courtroom and reasonable doubt, and a good defense attorney arguing that a recording at a bar wasn't proof of intent. Not yet, I said quietly. We need more. We need him to act. Dan's face went white. You're saying we wait for him to try? I'm saying we document everything, we watch him, and we get ready. Rob, if he tries, we'll be ready. I promise you. I picked up my phone and texted Emily. Love you, sweetheart. Let's do dinner this week if Derek allows it. She didn't reply. Derek would, eventually. And when he did, I'd be ready. Paul Kim called me 3 days before Christmas. 8 days had passed since I'd texted Emily, and she still hadn't replied. The silence told me everything. Derek had her completely now. Mr. Mitchell, we have a situation at Guardian Self-Storage. I was wrapping presents in my living room, a scarf for Emily, books I knew she'd never receive. My stomach dropped. What kind of situation? Someone tried to break into Unit 156. Last night around 2 a.m. Our security cameras caught everything. I was already grabbing my coat. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The West Loop facility looked different in winter. Industrial brick buildings, gray against gray sky. The Chicago wind cutting through the empty streets. Paul met me at the office, his face serious. I called you before I called the police. Thought you'd want to see this first. He pulled up the security footage on his computer. The timestamp read December 22nd, 2:17 a.m. A figure approached Unit 156. Male, dark jacket, ball cap pulled low. He carried bolt cutters. My blood ran cold. The man looked directly at the camera for just a second, adjusting his grip on the cutters, face partially visible in the sodium lights. Derek Cole. Jesus Christ, I whispered. Paul nodded grimly. I thought that might be your son-in-law. Matches the description you gave me when you rented the unit. On screen, Derek positioned the bolt cutters around the padlock. He squeezed. The lock held, high-grade steel, exactly what Paul had recommended. Derek tried again, grunting with effort visible even on silent footage. The lock held. Derek looked around, frustrated, then tried a third time. The cutters slipped. He stumbled backward, cursing silently. Then he gave up. He stood there for 30 seconds, staring at the unit door like he could burn through it with sheer will. Then he walked away, disappearing off camera. He didn't get in, Paul said, but he tried. That's breaking and entering, Mr. Mitchell. That's a felony. I couldn't look away from the frozen frame. Derek's face, caught in the light, twisted with rage and desperation. He knew. Somehow, he knew the storage unit existed. Maybe he'd followed me. Maybe he'd found a receipt. Maybe he'd just guessed. And he wanted inside. Because everything that could destroy him was in that 10 by 10 climate-controlled room. The journal copies, The legal documents, prenup, trust papers, life insurance policies that named the trust, not Emily directly. Maggie's belongings, evidence of every lie, every manipulation, every crime, 400 pages of documentation, 18 months of truth, all locked behind a door Derek couldn't open. Send me that footage, I said. Every angle you have, already burned to disk. And I'm filing a police report. This is serious, Mr. Mitchell. I know. But wait 24 hours before you file, please. Paul studied me. You're building a case, aren't you? I'm protecting my daughter. He handed me the disc. 24 hours. Then I file. This facility has liability issues. Understood. I drove home with the disc on the passenger seat, my hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. Derek had tried to break into Unit 156. He was escalating. The audio recording from Murphy's bar. Once the old man's gone, the bruises on Emily's arm, the isolation, the control, the threats, and now this, physical evidence of Derek attempting to destroy the proof of his crimes. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Stay out of my marriage, old man, or you'll regret it. I pulled over, took a screenshot, forwarded it to Dan, then I opened my journal. Entry number 204. Date, December 22nd. Time 3:47 p.m. Derek attempted to break into Guardian Self-Storage Unit 156 at 2:17 a.m. Security footage obtained. He knows about the unit. He wanted the documents, the evidence, the journal copies. He failed. Now he's threatening me directly via text. Timeline accelerating. Derek is desperate. Desperate men make mistakes. Or they act. I need to move faster. I closed the journal and stared at my phone. Derek's threat glowed on the screen. This wasn't a game anymore. This was survival. Dan called me on a Saturday afternoon, December 28th, 6 days after the storage incident, his voice shaking. Rob, I followed him. What? Followed who? Derek. I've been tailing him for 3 days. After that storage unit thing, I figured, someone needs to watch him. You're too close. He'd spot you. I set down the journal I'd been updating. Entry number 211. Emily hadn't returned my calls in 2 weeks. Dan, you can't. I already did. And Rob, you need to see this. I'm sending you a video right now. My phone buzzed. Video file incoming. 47 seconds. I hit play. The footage was shaky, shot from inside a car, through a windshield, a hardware store parking lot, Ace Hardware on Western Avenue, the sign visible in the frame. Derek walked out carrying 2 plastic bags. He looked around, casual, unhurried, then opened his trunk. Dan had zoomed in. I watched Derek pull items from the bags, one by one, arranging them carefully in the trunk. A coil of rope, heavy-duty yellow nylon, a roll of plastic sheeting, industrial weight, the kind contractors use, duct tape, 2 rolls, a box of heavy-duty contractor bags, bleach, 2-gallon jugs, work gloves, latex, disposable. My vision tunneled. Derek closed the trunk, got in his car, and drove away. The video ended. I sat frozen, phone in my hand, staring at the black screen. Rob? Dan's voice through the speaker. You still there? That's a kill kit. I know. That's everything you'd need to... I know. Dan's voice cracked. That's everything you'd need to move a body. Wrap it, clean up evidence, dispose of it. My hands were shaking. I replayed the video. Rope, plastic, tape, bleach, gloves. This wasn't theoretical anymore. This wasn't an overheard conversation at a bar or a threatening text message. Derek Cole had just purchased the materials to commit murder. When was this? I asked. Today. 2 hours ago. I've been following him since Thursday. He went to 3 different stores, bought the rope at Menards, the plastic and tape at Home Depot, the bleach and gloves at this Ace Hardware. Like he didn't want anyone to see him buying everything at once. Smart, careful, premeditated. Send me the full footage, everything, already in your email. 3 videos, all time-stamped, all showing his license plate. I opened my laptop, pulled up the files. Dan had been thorough. 3 separate stores, 3 separate videos. Derek's face clear in every shot. His license plate visible. Illinois 4 XLM 937. I saved the files. Cloud, hard drive, USB stick. Then I called Detective Sarah Chen. She answered on the second ring. Mitchell? What's going on? I need to meet with you. Today. Now if possible. What happened? My son-in-law just bought a kill kit. I have video evidence, and I think he's planning to use it in the next 48 hours. Silence on the line. Then, where are you? Lincoln Park. My house. Stay there. I'm coming to you. Don't call anyone else. Don't approach Derek. Do you understand me, Rob? I understand. I'll be there in 30 minutes. She hung up. I sat at my desk, staring at the frozen frame on my screen. Derek Cole holding a coil of yellow rope, his face calm and focused. This was it. 18 months of documentation, 400 journal entries, audio recordings, security footage, photographs of bruises, financial records, text message threats, and now this. Physical evidence of intent to murder. I opened my journal one more time. Entry number 217. Date, December 28th. Time, 4:33 p.m. Dan Pierce obtained video evidence of Derek purchasing materials consistent with murder preparation. Rope, plastic sheeting, duct tape, contractor bags, bleach, latex gloves, 3 separate stores. Derek's face and license plate visible in all footage. Timeline critical. Derek is preparing to act. Detective Sarah Chen contacted. Meeting scheduled today. Evidence package complete. 18 months of waiting is over. Now we move. I closed the journal and looked at the clock. Detective Chen would arrive in 23 minutes. Emily hadn't called me back in 2 weeks. Derek was building a kill kit in his trunk, and I had 48 hours, maybe less, to stop him before he used it. On me, or on my daughter. Detective Sarah Chen left my house at 6:47 p.m. with copies of everything. The journal entries, the audio recording, the storage unit footage, Dan's videos of the kill kit. She'd spent 2 hours reviewing the evidence, her face growing darker with each page. We'll put surveillance on Derek immediately, she'd said. And Mr. Mitchell, call your daughter. Get her somewhere safe. Tonight. I called Emily 17 times. She answered on the 18th. Dad? Her voice was small, confused. What's wrong? You never call this much. Emily, I need you to come home, to my house, right now. I can't. Derek and I have plans. Emily. I closed my eyes. Please, it's important. Life or death important. Silence, then. Okay, I'll tell Derek I'm visiting you. Give me an hour. Don't tell him where you're going. Just leave. Please. Dad, you're scaring me. Good. Be scared. And come home. She arrived at 8:14 p.m., pale and thin in a loose sweater that couldn't hide how much weight she'd lost. Dan was already there, sitting in my living room like a sentinel. Emily stopped in the doorway. What's going on? Why is Dan here? I handed her the journal. The leather was worn now, the pages thick with 18 months of ink. 400 entries, every manipulation, every bruise, every threat, every lie. What is this? She asked. Proof, I said quietly. Proof that I'm not paranoid. Proof that I'm not trying to control you. Proof that Derek Cole is dangerous and that he's planning to kill me. Her face went white. Dad! Read it. Please, start at the beginning. She looked at Dan. He nodded. Emily sat down on the couch and opened to page 1. She read for 3 hours. I watched her face change. At first, confusion, defensiveness, Dad's overreacting. He never liked Derek. Then, recognition. Wait, that actually happened. I remember that night. Then, horror. Oh my God, oh my God. Entry number 1. Emily introduced us to Derek Cole today. Something about him isn't right. Entry number 34. Derek discouraged Emily from attending Sarah's birthday, said Sarah was jealous of their relationship. Emily canceled. Entry number 67. Sunday dinner canceled again. Derek said Emily had a migraine. When I called her, she sounded afraid. Entry number 91. Emily wore long sleeves in July. When she reached for the salt, I saw finger-shaped bruises on her wrist. Entry number 127. Purple and yellow bruise on Emily's left forearm. 5 days old, minimum. She lied, said she fell. Then corrected herself. Derek felt terrible. Past tense. He did it. Entry number 183. Third canceled dinner. Emily's voice flat, lifeless. She said Derek thinks it's better if we spend Sundays together, just us. Translation. He won't let her leave. Entry number 197. Audio evidence obtained. Derek discussing my life insurance. Once the old man's gone, that's community property. He is planning to murder me. Entry number 204. Derek attempted to break into storage unit. He knows. He's desperate. Entry number 217. Kill kit purchased. Rope, plastic, bleach, gloves. Dan has video evidence. Timeline critical. Emily's hands were shaking by entry number 300. By entry number 400, she was crying silently, tears dripping onto the pages. She closed the journal. This is real, she whispered. All of it. Every word. Yes. I didn't see it. How did I not see it? Dan leaned forward. Because he's good at this, Emily. He isolated you slowly, made you doubt yourself, made you think everyone else was the problem. She looked at me, her eyes red and devastated. He was going to kill you. Yes. And I defended him. I told you to stop interfering. I stopped coming to Sunday dinners because he said you were trying to control me. Her voice broke. Oh my God, Dad. I'm so sorry. I sat beside her and pulled her into my arms. She collapsed against me, sobbing. You have nothing to apologize for, I said. Nothing. This is what abusers do. They make you believe the people who love you are the enemy. Where is he now? She asked, pulling back. Derek? At your condo, we think. Police have him under surveillance. He bought rope and plastic sheeting. Yes, to kill you, or both of us. Emily stood up, wiping her eyes. Her face had changed. Something hard and clear had settled behind the tears. What do we do now? She asked. Dan and I exchanged glances. Now, I said, we wait for him to make his move. And when he does, we end this. Emily picked up the journal, held it to her chest like armor. He's not going to hurt anyone else, she said quietly. Outside, snow began to fall. Somewhere across the city, Derek Cole was wondering where his wife had gone, and the clock was ticking. Derek came for me at 11:43 p.m. I was in my study, door locked, journal open to a blank page, ready to document whatever came next. Emily was upstairs in her old bedroom, door locked, phone in her hand with 911 pre-dialed. Dan was in the kitchen, waiting. Detective Chen had promised surveillance. 2 unmarked cars on the street, officers ready to move. But I knew Derek wouldn't wait. He'd come home to an empty condo. Emily's phone turned off, her car gone. He'd know exactly where she'd gone, and he'd come to get her back, or eliminate the threat. Me. I heard the sound at 11:41 p.m., glass breaking, back door, kitchen side. Dan's voice, sharp and urgent. "Rob! He's inside!" I grabbed my phone, hit record, and opened the study door. Derek stood in my hallway. He looked wild, hair disheveled, eyes bright with rage and panic. He wore dark clothes, gloves, and in his right hand, he held a knife. 8-inch blade. Kitchen knife. The kind you use to carve meat. "Where is she?" Derek's voice was low, dangerous. "She's safe," I said, keeping my voice steady. "And she knows everything. You poisoned her against me. You've been doing it for months." 18 months, I corrected. "I've been documenting for 18 months. Every manipulation, every bruise, every threat. She read it all tonight, Derek. 400 pages. She knows what you are." His face twisted. "You had no right. I had every right. I'm her father, and you were planning to kill me." He froze. "Oh yes," I continued, stepping slowly backward toward the living room, keeping distance between us. "I know about the life insurance. I know about the kill kit. Rope, plastic sheeting, bleach. Dan got it all on video. The police have everything, Derek. It's over. You're lying." "Am I?" "Check your phone. Check the street outside. The surveillance started 6 hours ago." Derek's eyes flicked toward the window. I saw the moment he understood. "You set me up." "No. I documented your crimes. You set yourself up." He lunged. I wasn't fast enough. Derek slammed into me and we crashed into the living room. The knife flashed. I threw up my arm, felt the blade slice across my forearm, hot and sharp. Blood bloomed through my shirt. "Dad!" Emily screamed from the stairs. "Stay back!" I shouted. Derek's hand closed around my throat. We were on the floor now, his weight on my chest, his face inches from mine. The knife rose again. Then Dan was there. He hit Derek from the side, full tackle, shoulder into ribs. Derek's grip broke. The knife skittered across the hardwood floor. They rolled, grappling. Dan was younger, stronger. He got Derek's arm behind his back, knee on his spine. "Police! Don't move!" The front door exploded inward. Detective Sarah Chen and 3 uniformed officers flooded into the room, guns drawn. "Hands! Show me your hands!" Derek struggled, shouting, "Get off me! This is my wife's father. He attacked me. Derek Cole, you're under arrest for breaking and entering, assault with a deadly weapon, and attempted murder." Detective Chen's voice was cold steel. "You have the right to remain silent." 2 officers pulled Derek to his feet, cuffed him. He was still screaming, protesting, lying. Detective Chen knelt beside me. "Mr. Mitchell, you're bleeding. Medics are on the way." "I'm fine. Check the kitchen, his car. He might have more." She nodded to an officer who ran outside. Emily appeared at my side, her face white with shock. She pressed a kitchen towel to my bleeding arm. "Dad, oh my God. I'm okay, sweetheart. I'm okay." Derek saw her then. His face changed, from rage to something like desperation. "Emily, baby, listen to me. He's lying. I came here to talk, and he—" "Stop." Emily's voice was quiet, but absolute. "I read the journal, Derek. I know what you did. I know what you were planning, and I know what you are." Derek's mouth opened, closed. For the first time since I'd met him, he had nothing to say. "Get him out of here," Detective Chen said. They dragged Derek toward the door. He looked back once, at Emily, at me, and I saw it clearly. Not remorse, Not shame, calculation. He was already planning his defense, but it wouldn't matter. Outside, officers were searching Derek's car. They found the kill kit in his trunk. Rope, plastic, tape, bleach, gloves. And in the glove compartment, printed directions to a forest preserve 30 miles outside Chicago. A map with a spot marked in red pen. The place he'd planned to bury me. Detective Chen held up the map, her jaw tight. "We've got him." The paramedics bandaged my arm. 12 stitches, they said. Clean cut. I'd been lucky. Emily sat beside me on the couch, holding my good hand, crying softly. Dan stood by the window, watching the police lights swirl red and blue against the snow. And I opened my journal one last time. Entry number 220. Date: December 29th. Time 12:31 a.m. Derek Cole broke into my house at 11:43 p.m. armed with a knife. He attacked me. Dan intervened. Police arrested Derek on scene. Evidence recovered from his vehicle. Kill kit and map to burial site. Emily witnessed everything. She is safe. I am alive. 18 months of documentation. 400 entries. It's over. I closed the journal. Outside, they were loading Derek into a police car. Emily leaned her head against my shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for not giving up on me." I kissed the top of her head. "Never," I said. "Not ever." The trial lasted 3 weeks. Cook County Criminal Court. February cold seeping through the old building's stone walls. I sat in the gallery every single day. Emily on my left, Dan on my right. Derek Cole faced 7 charges. Attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, breaking and entering, stalking, conspiracy to commit murder, domestic battery, and intimidation of a witness. The evidence was overwhelming. Day 1. The prosecution laid out the timeline. 18 months, 400 journal entries. Prosecutor Janet Morrison held up my leather journal like a Bible. "This," she said to the jury, "is the meticulous documentation of a father who watched his daughter's husband transform from charming fiancé to calculating abuser to would-be murderer. Every entry is dated, time-stamped, corroborated by witnesses, photographs, and video evidence." Derek's lawyer, expensive, slick, argued it was the obsessive delusion of an overprotective father who never approved of his daughter's husband. The jury didn't buy it. Day 5. Dan testified. Calm, detailed, unshakable. He described following Derek to 3 hardware stores. Described the kill kit items, one by one. The defense tried to rattle him. "Isn't it true, Mr. Pierce, that you've been in love with Emily Mitchell for years?" Dan looked the lawyer dead in the eye. "Number. Emily is like a sister to me, and I wasn't going to let her father be murdered by a sociopath." The gallery murmured. The judge gavelled for silence. Day 8. Detective Sarah Chen presented the physical evidence. The knife, the kill kit from Derek's trunk, the map with the burial site marked in red. "We drove to this location," Detective Chen testified. "Forest Preserve, 30 miles west of Chicago, remote." The spot marked on the map was a ravine, isolated, difficult to access, the kind of place where a body might not be found for years. Derek's face stayed blank, unreadable, but I saw his hands clench under the table. Day 11. Emily took the stand. She wore a simple gray dress, no makeup. Her voice was quiet but steady as she described the isolation, the control, the bruises, the fear. She described reading my journal and realizing that everything she'd dismissed as love was actually manipulation. "I thought he was protecting me," she said, "but he was imprisoning me." Derek's lawyer tried to paint her as brainwashed by her father. "Isn't it possible, Ms. Mitchell, That your father influenced your perception. No, Emily's voice cut through the courtroom. My father documented the truth. Derek lived it. I survived it. Those are the facts. The jury foreman nodded slightly. Day 16. The audio recording from Murphy's bar played in open court. Derek's voice, casual and confident. Once the old man's gone, that's community property. We just need the right moment. The jury heard it all. Day 21. Closing arguments. The prosecution. Derek Cole is a predator who married for money, abused his wife, and planned to murder her father for a $2 million insurance payout. The evidence is irrefutable. The defense, circumstantial, misinterpreted, the product of a father's paranoia. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Verdict: guilty on all counts. Derek showed no emotion as the judge read the sentence. 15 years in state prison, eligible for parole after 10. Emily exhaled beside me, a sound like she'd been holding her breath for 18 months. I reached for her hand. She squeezed back. Behind us, Dan wiped his eyes. As they led Derek away in handcuffs, he looked back one last time. Not at Emily, at me. His eyes said, "You won this round." Mine said, "There won't be another." The courtroom doors closed. It was over. 1 month after the verdict, Emily asked to see Unit 156. We drove to the West Loop on a Saturday morning in March. The Chicago wind had softened. Spring was trying to break through the gray. Paul Kim met us at the Guardian self-storage office, the same serious expression he'd worn the day he called about Derek's break-in attempt. "Mr. Mitchell. Miss Mitchell." He shook our hands. "I'm glad this turned out the way it did. Not all stories end with justice." "Thanks to you," I said. "That security footage made all the difference." He handed me the key to Unit 156. "Take all the time you need." Emily and I walked down the climate-controlled hallway, past rows of identical orange doors. Unit 156 was in the back corner. The same lock Derek had tried to cut through with bolt cutters. The same door that had protected everything. I unlocked it. The door rolled up. Emily stepped inside and stopped. The 10 by 10 space was neat, organized. Plastic bins labeled in my handwriting, legal documents, journal copies, photographs, evidence, and in the back corner, Maggie's belongings. Emily moved toward them slowly, like approaching something sacred. 3 boxes, cardboard, carefully sealed. I helped her open the first one. Inside, Maggie's jewelry, her wedding ring, the pearl necklace she'd worn on our 20th anniversary, a bracelet Emily had made her in 2nd grade, clay beads painted purple. Emily picked up the bracelet, tears already falling. "I made this for Mother's Day. She wore it every day for a year," I said softly, until the beads started cracking. Then she kept it in her jewelry box. "Her most precious thing," she said. The second box held photo albums, Maggie and Emily at the beach, birthday parties, Christmas mornings, the two of them laughing, hugging, living. Emily traced her mother's face in a photograph. She knew, didn't she, that something like Derek could happen. She knew the world was dangerous. She wanted to protect you even after she was gone. The third box was smaller. On top sat a sealed envelope with Emily's name written in Maggie's handwriting. Emily's hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a letter. 2 pages handwritten. "My dearest Emily, if you're reading this, it means your father had to show you the storage unit. It means something went wrong. Someone dangerous got close to you, and your dad had to protect you the only way he knew how. With documentation, preparation, and love. I'm so sorry I'm not there to protect you myself. But I need you to know something. Your father isn't controlling you. He's loving you the way I loved you, fiercely, protectively, completely. There's a difference between control and protection. Control takes away your choices. Protection gives you the tools to make safe choices. Derek, or whoever it is, tried to control you. Your father gave you truth. Trust your dad. Trust yourself. And know that I'm so proud of the woman you've become. Love isn't about possession. It's about safety, respect, and freedom. Remember that. All my love, forever. Mom Emily collapsed onto the floor of the storage unit, clutching the letter, sobbing. I sat beside her and held her while she cried. For her mother, for the 18 months of abuse, for the version of herself she'd lost and was now reclaiming. When she finally looked up, her face was wet but clear. She knew, Emily whispered. She knew someone like Derek might come. So she built protections, the prenup, the trust, the insurance that bypassed him. She looked at me, and she trusted you to use them. She loved you more than anything, I said. Emily held the letter to her chest. I want to keep this, and the bracelet, and the photos. They're yours. They've always been yours. We loaded Maggie's boxes into my car. The legal documents stayed in the unit, still evidence, still protected, still a testament to what love looks like when it fights back. As we drove home, Emily stared out the window at the city waking up into spring. Dad? Yeah, sweetheart? Thank you for everything, for not giving up, for documenting, for believing me even when I didn't believe myself. I reached over and squeezed her hand. Always, I said. Always. 6 months later. September in Chicago. The leaves were turning gold along Lakeshore Drive, and the city felt like it was breathing again. Emily sat across from me at my dining table, laughing at something Dan had said. Real laughter. The kind I hadn't heard since before Derek. Sunday dinners had returned. It hadn't been easy. The first 2 months after the trial, Emily barely spoke. She'd moved back into my brownstone temporarily, sleeping in her childhood bedroom, staring at walls. Her therapist, Dr. Helen Ramos, said it was normal. Processing 18 months of trauma takes time. Some days were dark, but slowly, week by week, I watched my daughter come back. She started painting again, something she'd loved before Derek called it a waste of time. Her canvases filled my living room with color. She joined a support group for domestic violence survivors. Came home exhausted, but lighter. She got a new apartment in Lincoln Park. Small, bright, hers. She chose every piece of furniture herself. No one told her what to buy or where to put it. And 3 months ago, she'd started dating again. Carefully. A guy named Marcus from her support group. Kind, patient, respectful. Someone who understood boundaries. Don't rush, I'd told her. I know, Dad, but Marcus is different. He listens. He asks what I want. He doesn't push. I'd met him last week. Good handshake, direct eye contact. Asked about Emily's art before anything else. Dan approved too, which meant something. Now, sitting at the table with roast chicken and Dan telling terrible jokes, I watched Emily glow. She caught me staring. What? She asked, smiling. Just happy you're here. Me too. Dan raised his glass. To Sunday dinners and to family. We clinked glasses. Water for Emily. She'd stopped drinking after Derek. Said she wanted to stay clear-headed. Wine for Dan and me. To family, Emily echoed. Later, after Dan left, Emily paused by the door. Dad? Yeah? I want to donate the journal. Not the original, that's evidence. But I want to share the story anonymously. So other people know what coercive control looks like. so other daughters know their fathers aren't crazy when they see red flags. I smiled. Your mom would love that. I think so too. She hugged me, tight, long, the kind of hug that says I'm okay now. We're okay. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart. She left, and I stood at the window watching her car pull away into the Chicago night. I walked back to my study. The journal sat on the shelf, leather-worn, pages thick with ink. 400 entries, 18 months of documentation. I opened to the last entry, number 221. Date, September 15th to mine. 9:47 p.m. Emily laughed tonight. Real laughter. She's healing. She's painting. She's reclaiming her life. Derek Cole is serving year 1 of 15. Justice prevailed. Maggie's protections held. The prenup, the trust, the insurance, the storage unit. Even in death, she protected our daughter. And I did what I could. I documented. I waited. I gathered proof. I confronted Derek with truth, not rage. To anyone reading this, to any parent who sees the red flags, trust your instincts. Document everything. Don't fear seeming paranoid. Fear staying silent. Build your case quietly, carefully, thoroughly. Find allies. Prepare for the long game. Protection isn't control. Love isn't possession. Real love gives people the tools to survive. Real love waits. Real love documents. Real love fights back with truth. Emily is safe. And that's all that ever mattered. I closed the journal. Outside, the Chicago skyline glittered against the night. Somewhere across the city, Emily was painting in her apartment, creating something beautiful from the wreckage. And I sat in my study, 62 years old, scarred and tired and grateful, knowing one simple truth: love wins. Not always easily, not always quickly, but when it's patient, when it's documented, when it refuses to give up, love wins. If you're watching this story and something feels familiar, if you recognize the isolation, the control disguised as love, the bruises explained away, please know this: you're not imagining it. Your instincts are right. Coercive control doesn't announce itself. It arrives with charm, with compliments, with promises. It separates you from friends slowly, so slowly you don't notice until you're alone. It rewrites your reality until you question your own memory. And it escalates, always escalates, from emotional manipulation to financial control to physical violence. Here's what Rob's story teaches us. If you're a parent or friend, trust your gut. Document what you see: dates, times, photos, screenshots. Don't confront the abuser directly. Build your case quietly. Find allies. Contact domestic violence hotlines for guidance. And remember, your job isn't to rescue. It's to provide truth and safety when the victim is ready. If you're the victim, you are not crazy. You are not overreacting. Abuse is not your fault. Reach out to someone you trust. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. 1-800-799-7233, available 24/7 confidential. Make a safety plan. Document everything you can. And know this: leaving is the most dangerous time. Do it with support, with a plan, and with professionals who understand. If you're the bystander, speak up gently. Say, "I've noticed some things that worry me. I'm here if you need to talk." Offer resources, not judgment. Believe victims when they share their stories. The difference between love and control. Love respects boundaries. Control violates them. Love supports independence. Control demands isolation. Love asks, "What do you need?" Control says, "Do what I say." Rob didn't save Emily by forcing her to leave. He saved her by documenting the truth and waiting for her to see it. That's what real love does. You are not alone. Help is available. And you deserve safety, respect, and freedom always.